أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We thank him for his mercies that he's bestowed upon us. We bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except the Almighty Allah. We also bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his servant and his messenger. Whosoever the Almighty Allah guides is really guided, and anybody who goes astray has nobody to blame but themselves. Today, Sunday, the 21st day of Dhul Qa'dah, or 22nd day of Dhul Qa'dah, 1444 years after the hijrah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which also corresponds, I believe, with the 11th day of June 2023. Alhamdulillah, last about the migration to Ethiopia, main migrations from Mecca to Ethiopia. And this is a fact that before Islam was prevalent in the Arabian Peninsula, Islam had gone to Africa. Because before the Prophet Muhammad sent any emissary to Medina, on the east coast of Africa, Ethiopia to be precise, Islam was there blooming, because the Prophet Muhammad told the Sahaba that when they go to Abyssinia, they are going to go to a king who does not tolerate injustice, who does not tolerate oppression. He's a just king. So just to recap, to remind us of what we spoke about, these people have migrated. For the first time, when they migrated, after some time, they heard that the people of Mecca had all accepted Islam. So they returned back. When they came back, they realized that no, it was not true. The people of Mecca had not migrated, had not accepted Islam. These people are considered second-class citizens, and if they can leave the city or the country without any hindrance, then that's a huge problem. So they sent two people. One of them is Amr ibn As, to go and negotiate with the king of Abyssinia to bring the people back. To cut a long story short, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib was able to espouse and explain what Islam is, Christianity, and how we Muslims see Jesus. That some of them, returned, like Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, back to history. As I said earlier on, or time and time again, that the Seerah class we are having is not just, we're just reading historical facts. We're trying to see how well we can inculcate these lessons in our day-to-day activities that will help us to be better Muslims. Because anybody who doesn't have a past does not really understand what the present holds. Something in light of this, religion that the Almighty Allah really accepts is Islam. So if you say Jesus Christ practiced Judaism, aren't we contradicting that? I'm just only using Judaism as a terminology. Because all the prophets were Muslims. All of them. From Adam alayhi salatu wasalam to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they were all Muslims. The only difference is that they had difference in the kind of Sharia, in the laws that they came with. وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتِ. Every nation had a prophet, and then the message was that they are going to worship the Almighty Allah, and then they are going to distance themselves from what? From idol worship. So this is a clear statement that all the prophets were Muslims. So when you observe, even in Matthew, when Jesus was speaking to the Jews, he told them, don't think I have come to destroy the law. I have rather come to fulfill the law. He didn't come to change the law of Moses. He came to rather establish it and then affirm it. So Isa alayhi salatu wasalam was practicing what Musa alayhi salatu wasalam had given. So we call it Judaism for intellectual purposes and our class purposes. So that is Judaism. But then the religious class at that time was so corrupt in Jerusalem that they turned the temple into a business center. For example, you come to the masjid and then, there's a table here where people are changing money. There's a table here where people are doing all kinds of things in there. So Judaism at that time had become corrupt. So there was a splinter group called the Essens, ESSEN. They decided that no, these people have corrupted the deen of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. So they left the city and then they went into the wilderness at a place called Qumran, which is near the Dead Sea. So if you read about the Dead Sea Scrolls, you realize that this is where it was found. So Isa alayhi salatu wasalam was born during this time, and then the Jews were under Roman invasion. The Romans had invaded them, they were in control of them. So the Jews were waiting for a Messiah who was promised to them. And the Messiah here for them is someone who is going to liberate the Jews from what? From the Romans. So when Jesus Christ alayhi salatu wasalam, Isa alayhi salatu wasalam came and then started his message, preaching against the evil that the community were doing, and then with all the miracles that he had, raising the dead with the will of the Almighty Allah, healing the lepers, healing the blind people, healing the dumb people with the power of the Almighty Allah. These people, the already established religious clergy, had a problem with him. So to cut a long story short, they plotted to kill him. Yes, they plotted to kill him. And that had been the way of Bani Israel. If they did not like any prophet, they killed him. And the Quran has established this. Sometimes in a day in Bani Israel, they can kill 80 prophets. 80 a day. Kill them. Because they didn't agree with them. But then the Almighty Allah saved him. This point of, the crucifixion and then the resurrection of Jesus Christ is a major issue for world religions, especially Muslims and Christians. And before that, the birth of Jesus Christ. You have some early Christians who call themselves the adoptites. That's what they call themselves. It's called adopticism. They believe that Jesus Christ is not the Son of God. God adopted him. He's an adopted Son of God. You have them. They have that belief. And then there's another group also. You're laughing. It's called adoptionism. They believe that Jesus Christ is not the Son of God. He is adopted Son of God. When he was being baptized, that's when God adopted him. There were the ones who are called the Arianism. It's also another splinter group in Christianity. Early Christians, they also have another belief concerning Jesus Christ. We have the Ebionites. As for the Ebionites, they say Jesus Christ is a human being. He is the son of Mary, the son of Joseph. For them, Jesus Christ does not have any divine attributes. He is just a human being, same way we Muslims believe. But then we don't believe that he is the son of what? He's the son of Joseph. For us, there's no Joseph in the equation. So these were early Christian movements in the first century where they had different, perceptions concerning who Jesus Christ is. They had different perceptions. But then as Christianity expanded, even before that, they called them Jewish Christians. The people who followed Jesus, Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, amongst the early nations, like his brother James. When I say his brother, don't be confused. It is in the Bible. In Matthew, Jesus Christ has brothers, he has sisters from the same father and mother. Sometimes I'll speak to you concerning Christian literature. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is what Islam says. I'm just giving you some of the information that the Christians have there. So he has a brother called James. Not James, the son of Zebedee. He's also another person. But he has a brother who is from the same mother called James, according to Christianity. But then the church, when I say the church here, the Christian establishment at that time was very smart. They were able to wipe off James out of the system. So you never hear of James. But he was the leader of the Jerusalem church at the beginning of the first century. Now, after Jesus has left, Paul, who you heard, his name is Saul. He was a bounty hunter. He was looking for Christians to massacre them and kill them. And then he said on the way to Damascus in Syria today, he saw a light. He was with other people. All of them were on horses, but he was the only one who saw a light. And he was the only one who the light struck. And he was the only one who fell off his horse. and then he became an apostle of Jesus Christ. Some historians or some Christian, theologians say that Paul has a greater influence on Christianity more than Jesus Christ, and it's the fact. If you take the New Testament of 27 books, Paul has written more than 60% of the books in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, sorry. He has written more than 60% of the books in there. And Paul was not a disciple of Jesus Christ. He never saw him. He never met him. He never ate with him. But how can he have that influence on Christianity? Because in the Bible, we read that Jesus Christ told his companions, do not go unto the Gentiles. The Gentiles are people who are not Jews. Do not go to them. Do not do da'wah to them. I was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Isa alayhi salatu wasalam's message was only to Bani Israel. So if you are not from Bani Israel, you have no business being a Christian. And it is clear in the Bible. But then Paul was the one who decided to send the message of Christianity to the Gentiles, to the ones who are not Jews. And they had a debate, Paul, Peter, and James, as to how to deal with these people who are not Jews, who are coming to join them. So to cut a long story short, Paul was able to, turn Christianity upside down on its head. That yes, Jesus Christ had to die to save our souls. And Jesus Christ, there must be atonement of sin. When Adam ate the forbidden fruit, we can never be forgiven unless God sent someone, his son, to come and die for us. So that is how all these things started. But then in the first century, on the CE, we had all these movements in and around there. All these ideologies going there. The adoptionists saying Jesus Christ was not the Son of God. God adopted him. The Ebionites saying Jesus Christ is a human being just like everybody else. The Gnosticism people have their own ideas. The Arianism people, the Marcionism, the Montanism. All these things were ideas, going on at that time. Then the Romans realized that Judeo-Christianity or Jewish Christianity was gaining grounds. And they were the ones who were the superpowers controlling Palestine at that time. So what did they do? In the 4th century, there was an emperor called Constantine. You heard of Constantinople? Constantinople is today Istanbul, Turkey. So Constantine was a Roman emperor. The Roman Empire had been divided into 4 different parts. So he was able to conquer all the rest of the parts, and then he made them into one kingdom, one empire. So he moved his capital from Rome in Italy, and then he built a whole new city, which he named after himself, Constantinople. He is called Constantine the First. He named it Constantinople, and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave a prophecy that the Muslims would conquer Constantinople. But this guy, he was in the 4th century AD, which is more than 300 years, about 200 years to 200 years before the Prophet Muhammad was actually born. This guy. So 570 and then 300. So about 200 and more to 300 years before the Prophet Muhammad was born, when this city was built. But the Prophet Muhammad gave, a prediction, a prophecy that Constantinople is going to be captured by Muslims, and today it is called Istanbul, and then Muslims are there controlling it. So Christians said that Constantine accepted Christianity. And this man made great cosmetic surgery on Christianity. To even come to Constantine, the first time the Christians were called Christians was in Antioch, Antakya. And that name was even a derogatory name. It was an insult to them. It was being used to insult them. See, these Christians. It was until 100 AD that the name became an official name for them. So, Constantine, it is said that he accepted Islam, but he had accepted Christianity. But then, the reason being, they said that at the final battle that he had to join, the Roman Empire, he saw Jesus Christ in the cloud. He saw a cross, he saw some angels, and then that motivated him to win the war. They fought that war on a bridge called the Malvian Bridge. If you go to Italy today, that bridge is still there right now. And then after the war, he built an ark in Rome, which is called Constantine's Ark. That ark is still there. It's a monument. You go to Rome, you see it today. It is near the Colosseum, where the Romans had, all these. It's still a symbol there. Or the Roman temple, Mithran, in there. So, Greek mythology, and then some form of Christianity, to form a new world order where he can control the known world at that time. Some theologians even say that Constantine did not Christianize the Romans, he rather Romanized Christianity. The Roman pagan system. Read that the 4 Gospels are the canons: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And these 4 Gospels, they were written between 60 to 80 to 100 years after Jesus Christ had left. And Christian theologians will tell you that these 4 books were not written by the disciples of Jesus Christ. And this is a fact. Because the writings in there show that the people were not the writers. That's one. Number 2, the language itself doesn't prove that these were writers of what? Of the Bible. And then they accept it. If we take this book, there's a book, I think it's here or it's in the office or I've taken it home, written by Professor Maurice Bucaille, a French medical doctor in the 70s. He called it The Bible, the Quran, and Science. Please get this book and read it. The Bible, the Quran, and Science. You really understand the genesis of the books, the Bible, and then the genesis of the Quran, how the Quran came to be, and how the Bible came to be, and then you will love it. It's very beautiful. It is a very objective book written by Professor Maurice Bucaille. So after 325 AD, that is when they changed the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday. That is when they organized Christmas, where they said the sun god Apollo was born on the 25th of December, and Jesus Christ is also born on the 25th of December. So the Roman god of war, Mars, and then Christ. So Christ, Mass. So that's where they formed Christmas on the 25th of December. Afterwards, they had another council in 381, 451, 7 different ecumenical councils just to change the face of Christianity. So this is just a brief history of Christianity before even the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born. So by the time the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born, Christianity has gone through different formations and changes from the original time of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. That is why today, if you observe in the world, the Eastern Orthodox Church in Russia is very different from what the West do. If you go to Africa, the Coptic Church in Egypt, different. You go to Ethiopia, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church is different. Even the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, you find it very, very strange. It's called Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. When you hear Tewahedo, what comes into your mind? Tawheed. They believe in the oneness of God, but then Trinity is also fused in there. Because it was, I think, one of the councils that they created Trinity. That God is God, Jesus is God, and the Holy Spirit is God. But then this 1 + 1 + 1 is still 1. It's not 3. The Christian theologians themselves, and anytime I meet them, I ask them to explain to me the Trinity, and they tell me it's a mystery. It is beyond human understanding. It is true. You can't explain it. That God is there, He gave birth, and then that Son is also God. But then He is also different. He's the Son, but then He's God at the same time. I remember I was in a discussion with one of them, and then we're speaking about, Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, and then he was like, you Muslims, you don't believe in Isa. I said, no, we don't believe in Jesus. We believe in Jesus more than you. He's like, how? I said, in our Quran, We have a whole chapter on the mother of Jesus called Surah to Maryam. Can you give me a chapter in the Bible that is named after the mother of Jesus? He said, no. I said, yes, this is one reason. We revere Mary more than you. That's one. Number two, if Jesus Christ comes today, he comes to the masjid, and then he sees us, and then he goes to the church, and then he sees you. Who do you think? He said, well, on our feet. It is there in Exodus. That's what the Jews do. And then when we pray, we put our heads on the floor. And that's how he prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane. He was like, you have a point. I said, yes. And he said, okay, but the problem is that you don't believe. When you say Jesus Christ is God, we Muslims have a problem with that. Our problem is that our understanding of God is very, 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 it's very high. Our standard for God is very high because it's God. If you say Jesus is God and then he was born, you want to tell me that God was in the womb of a woman for 9 months? Is that what you're telling me? And then God was given birth to, and then he crawled. God cried. With all due respect, God went to toilet. That is why we Muslims don't accept it. Because our understanding, our standard for God is absolute supreme power. And then afterwards, you want to tell me that God died for 3 days. In the universe, there's no God for 3 days. By the time God, fact, if you believe God died for 3 days, then it means that Satan is also there. By the time God will resurrect, he'll stage a coup and then he's taking over the world. So, this is what Christianity looked like in the early days. And even till now that we speak, we have some churches who call themselves, some of them even, who, some of them Church of the Blessed Hope, Christian Scientists, Dawn Bible Students, Living Church of God, Assemblies of Yahweh, Members Church of God International, Unitarian Christians, Unitarian Universalist Christians, The Way International, the Church of God International, the United Church of God. These churches do not believe in what? In Trinity. And that was also a debate between early Christian theologians, we call them the Trinitarians and the Unitarians. After the debate, the Trinitarians won and the Unitarians were killed. They were excommunicated. The Roman elite want the paganism and then all these gods that they have. Now let's come back to our story, to our class. If this is Christianity, and this is how it looks like, and this from Christian theologians, this is what they tell us, this is what their religion is. That is why you have all the time they're trying to what? They're trying to edit and modify the Bible. Because a lot of things have been put in there to what? To control the narrative, to suit prevailing times. So if a new person comes in or a new pope comes in, new laws are enacted. They call them the canons. After some time, a new pope comes in, new canons are even brought in. After some time, a new pope comes in, new canons are put in there. So you realize that almost every century, one century to the other, there is what? There is a new canon coming in to modify Christianity or give it a facelift. That is why no single church worships the same. For us in his time, he brought in the Jews. Now he brought in the non-Jews. There was this to fine-tune the religion. For example, now the churches in the Bible, we all know that the alphabet community is not accepted in the Bible. But then now the churches are modifying it. So God is a God of love. We need to love everybody. So they are now changing the rules so that the alphabet community can join them because of diversity. For us Muslims, you can't bring these new things. It won't wash. Now, for the Ethiopian Orthodox Church that we spoke about, that they even have Tawheed in their name, they were able to maintain some originality in the teachings of Isa alayhi salatu wassalam. Some time ago, someone showed me a video of some people, praying very fast, and then it doesn't look like they are Muslims. Yes, it is the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. They offer salah like we do. Not salah, they also have prostration and bowing. And if you meet their priests, They grow beard. They have jalbab, like we were. They put on the kufi, like we were. But then they have a cross around their neck. When I go to Ethiopia for conferences with the African Union, we do visit them. Sometime we went to the Patriarch's house, like the Pope of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, but then he was not around. We couldn't meet him, but then we met some of, their chief monks, and then we had discussions. We were speaking English, and it was being translated between us and them. And then we asked them questions, and then it was an eye-opener because it sounded different from, what we know Christianity to look like in the Western world, or even, in some parts of Africa where you have all these Presbyterians, the Methodists, the Anglicans, the Catholics, and that. Now the question arises. If these Christians, as we have seen, had Christianity modified, why did the Prophet Muhammad send them, the Sahaba, to go to Christian lands to seek solace? And then for our present times now, what is the relationship between Muslims and the non-Muslims? You know very well in Islam that we have a qaida kulliya, a general law in Islam that says, La darara wa la dirara. It's the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Do not inflict harm on people, and also don't compromise for harm to be inflicted upon you. This is a general law for us Muslims. That's one. Number two, our relationship with people from other faiths must be grounded on our beliefs and our terms. It's very, very important. Sometimes as Muslims in our relationship with other people, we compromise on our beliefs with the idea that we are accommodating and then we are tolerant. No. Let's be very careful about that. This idea of accommodation and being tolerant has led a lot of us to compromise on our beliefs, our aqidah, and our what? Our morality and then our ethics. That doesn't mean we are going to be rude. That doesn't mean we are going to be arrogant. That doesn't mean we are going to look down on people. No. The fact remains that we are Muslims. We have a unique and a peculiar culture. We have our own identity. And if you want to deal with us, you deal with us based on our terms. It's like you are going to buy something. You negotiate, right? When you negotiate, the person says $1,000, you say $900. He says 1,000, you say 900. Do you fall back to his point? Do you go back to, no, you maintain your position. So number one, as Muslims in our relationship with non-Muslims, number one, let's understand that our aqidah is paramount. Is number one, because that is our identity. When the Sahaba went to Ethiopia and then they were called by Najashi to come in front of him, and then Amr ibn As was standing there, what did Ja'far ibn Abi Talib say? He said, we were weaklings. The strong amongst us destroy the weak ones. The powerful ones amongst us oppress the weaker ones. We worshipped idols. We did this, we did that, and the Almighty Allah sent to us a man who we know. We know his lineage, we know who his parents were, we know his character. And then he called us to worship Allah, the one and only. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib didn't dilute the message. No, it was clear cut, straightforward. This is who we are. When we left idol worship, we didn't join Christianity. We were Muslims. And then he was very emphatic and very clear about that we are Muslims. One of the Sahaba, when he was sent to one of the kings of the Romans, you know what he did? When he got into, the courtyard or the palace of the king, his spear, he turned it upside down where the hook is. That is where he was walking, and then he was punching the carpet with it. Just to send a message that we are powerful. The problem of the Muslim today, especially the issue that faces our kids in the West, is that we've diluted their identity of Islam, so they are accepting just anything from anywhere. Their hairstyles, the dressing, the language, how they carry themselves. You as parents, ask yourself, does it depict Islam? The way our kids talk, the language that they use, the choice of words that they use, is it Islamic? The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was so concerned about the identity of the Muslim that in Medina, he made sure that he distinguished them from the Jews. He said, Qassu sharib, clear off the mustache and grow the beard. Because the Jews were growing their mustaches. In every instance, he wanted to have a distinction. But then today what happens is because this tawheed, this creed, this aqidah, we've compromised it. And that has been our problem. Oh no, you need to be accommodating, you need to be tolerant. Yes, the moment you are accommodating and tolerant, you accept any filth and any garbage that comes to you. But then, yes, I'm a Muslim, and this is wrong. I don't accept it. That's it. I'm a Muslim. This is my identity. This is who I am. It's La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And that's it. That's who I am. You accept me the way I am, and then let's live peacefully. That's all. I'm not going to force you to accept my deen. I'm not going to impose myself upon you. But then, this is who I am. This is how I carry myself around. This is what I believe. At my workplace, it's time for Salah. I need you to give me the time to go and pray. If it is break time, this is my break. I'm going to pray. Any other time, I'll work. No problem. You see, when you stand firm on your creed and your aqidah and you are worshipping the Almighty Allah makes ways for you. وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. But then, and that has been our problem. So our aqidah is very, very important. So Ja'far ibn Abi Talib was very clear. Our aqidah, this is who we are. This is how we carry ourselves. And then when it came to our relationship with other people, Amr ibn As said, they are saying a statement concerning Jesus Christ. And then Najashi asked them, what do you say about Isa alayhi salatu wasalam and his mother? And then he said, I will only say what our prophet taught us. What did he teach you? And then he read to him Surah to Maryam. As a Muslim, don't be shy in exposing or establishing who you are. Whatever you find yourself. We live in a free world. Don't be timid. Don't be naive. Don't be scared. Wherever you go, carry your Islam on your chest. That is your badge. That is your identity. That's who you are. Carry yourself. That is why you see me. This is how I dress anywhere. Let me tell you a funny story. When the chief of police came and then we were going around, Sheikh Imam Hussein, we went to Chicago. We were going to take a train from Chicago to Detroit. And then we were all in our, and a white man came to us. He was like, wow, I like your costume. What is the occasion? He said, it is no occasion. This is how we dress every day. I said, wow, where are you from? I said, we're from Ghana, West Africa. Oh, wow. Can I take a picture? He said, yes, we can take a picture. And then it became a whole photo shoot in the train station. It was crap. They were just taking pictures of us. And then one lady came to us and she said she is a history teacher. And then she wants us to do a short video, describing our dressing and where we are and where we are coming from. Carry your badge wherever you go. That's who you are. That is your identity. I'm not saying that as a Muslim, you must always be in thobe and be in a turban. No. Even in your shirt and in your pants, you can depict Islam in your dressing. It's very, very important. You can depict this Islam in your day-to-day activities. You can depict Islam in your mannerisms with people around you. Let them understand that. We went to we went to one of the conferences, I forgot. I think it was in January. I went to North Carolina for a conference at Duke's University where we were going to speak about religion and the environment. How does, religion, help in safeguarding the environment? So we spoke extensively about, for me, I gave them the perspective of Islam, where the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about saving the environment, where, he said, don't waste water, even for ablution. Don't waste water. And then don't urinate, in a standing water, and all those stuff that the Prophet Muhammad taught us about how to protect the environment. So we went to have lunch, and, people coming in, they were shaking each other, giving hands. And all the ladies came in, and I pulled my hand back. I said, sorry. She said, I said, no. She said, why didn't you shake my hand? I said, you are a queen. And not everybody can shake the hands of the queen. And she was like, can you repeat that? I said, when the queen was alive in England, Buckingham Palace, is this just anybody who can go and then shake her hands? She said, no. I said, why? She said, because she's the queen. I said, for us, Islam, every woman is a queen. And not every man has the access to touching her. And she's like, wow, this is deep. It taught me something. She said, but I have some Muslim colleagues at work. They even hug me. I said, that is not Islam. That is not Islam. That's what they are doing. So we need to have that. In our relationship with non-Muslim, we need to bring out our what is our religion. Because understand one thing, the media propaganda against Islam is not depicting the right Islam. They are only cherry picking on what some, deviant Muslims are doing to paint Islam with. So if we, the majority, are not giving out the right fragrance of Islam, then we are not doing the right dawah. We are always working uphill because the media will not give a right expose about Islam, whether you like it or not. And as Muslims, don't complain. Don't expect the Western media to give you favorable coverage. They are not going to do it. Understand it. They are not going to do it. You think any of these media, organizations, I don't need to mention their names, will come and bring a sheikh to come and give a lecture, dawah? No, they are not going to do that. It doesn't support their agenda. So as Muslims, don't think that they are going to do that for you. That is number one. Number two, we should also carry ourselves around in a positive light that we have social media now. The traditional media will do whatever it wants. It's because we have social media, we can also equalize. And finally, the most important part for me is our interpersonal relationship with non-Muslims. It's very, very important. We were having some issues with some of our neighbors here, or one of our neighbors here. And I will say this publicly. Our neighbor, she is concerned that we are disturbing her. We call azan loudly. We park anyhow. And we disrespect her and stuff like that. And then the management of the masjid had to go for a meeting on that. And after the meeting, the city council woman was there, and the police chief were there, and they all realized that it is all trash, all lies. Because if you know the history of this neighborhood, 10, 15 years ago, it is a no-go area. With the nightclub there, with the dump and all the problems here. And now look at how this neighborhood has been transformed. This is a fact. That's one. Number two, on Fridays, our brothers, the security guys, are there on the street directing the cars to park. So you can't tell me that people double park in front of your house when we have a whole car park there. The fact that she has concocted these allegations on us, and I remember very well, I had to go to a meeting on that too, before Ramadan. And one of the police officers sent me a message one morning that there's a complaint that our loudspeaker is loud outside. And I sent him a picture of our machine, the PA system. I sent him a picture of it, that we are running at 24 decibels. And then the least you can run on is 34. But we are running at 24. So we are even below the disturbing line. Whether you know you can never please everybody. And وَلَنْ تَرْضَ عَنْكَ الْيَهُودُ وَلَا النَّصَارَى حَتَّى تَتَّبِعَ مِلَّتَهُمْ. Some people have this hiqd in them. They have this dislike. There's nothing you can do about it. But the fact that they have dislike towards you, that shouldn't affect your relationship with them based on the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is a fact. This is a fact. Because you know very well the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam lived with Jews in Medina. They plotted to kill him. He lived with munafiqun in Medina, but then he lived with them just and fair. You don't have to open your teeth to them. No. But then don't cheat them. Don't oppress them. Don't deal unjustly with them. We have 4 types of kuffar in our Sharia. Don't think that every kafir is a kafir. No. We have 4 types of kuffar in our Sharia. We have Ahlul Dhimma. We have Al-Musta'man. We have Al-Mu'ahad. And then we have Al-Muharab. These are the 4. Ahlul Dhimma are non-Muslim minorities living in an Islamic state. They are citizens of the state. They follow the laws. They pay their taxes. No Muslim is allowed to harass them. If you do that, the Sharia court must deal with you. And Umar bin Khattab, one of his last admonitions was on Ahlul Dhimma. If you check the Muslim empire, at its greatest height, 60% of the world's Christian population was living in the Islamic empire. And do you know what was the percentage of Muslims at that time? Only 10%. At the height of the Muslim empire, from Portugal to Mongolia, from Siberia to India, the Muslims made only 10% of the empire, and Christians made 60% of the empire. We didn't kill them. We didn't slaughter them. We didn't annihilate them. We didn't excommunicate them. We ruled. They were subjects, but then they were allowed to practice their deen so long as they don't infringe on our rights. That is our legacy to the world. And no empire has this. They were citizens in the what? In the Islamic empire. And some of the Khulafa hired Christians and Jews as part of their what? As part of the government machinery. Yes. In the translation movement, in the golden age of Islam, go and read about Ali Bakhtiyar Shah. They were a Jewish family who were involved in the translation of manuscripts from Greek to Arabic and from Hebrew to Arabic. So we have Ahlul Dhimma. And Ahlul Dhimma are in the Muslim states. No Muslim is supposed to attack them. We live peacefully with them. And these are the Jews that you have during the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam who were living in Medina with him. That's one. We have Al-Musta'man. Al-Musta'man is a non-Muslim who sought to come to the Muslim land either for business or for education or for healthcare. And then we gave him a visa to come into our country. No Muslim is allowed to touch him. It's very, very important. وَإِنْ أَحَدٌ مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ اسْتَجَارَكَ فَأَجِرْهُ حَتَّى يَسْمَعْ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ أَبْلِغْهُ مَأْمَنًا. If one of the non-Muslims come to seek your protection to enter into your land, فَأَجِرْهُ, give him that opportunity. And then حَتَّى يَسْمَعْ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ, let him stay with you to hear the word of the Almighty Allah. If afterwards he doesn't accept Islam, ثُمَّ أَبْلِغْهُ مَأْمَنًا, give him safe escort back to his country. That's what the Quran says. This is who we are. And then we are not saying this to seek any, any reverence from anybody. No, this is our religion. We are not saying this so that somebody will like us or hate us. No, this is what Islam is. And then we are not going to change the laws because someone has come to show us enmity, so we must attack another person. No, 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 no. If you attack us, we'll defend ourselves. This is what the religion has taught us. So that's the second person. The third person is al-mu'ahad. Two Muslims, a Muslim and a non-Muslim, and then we had wars between us. And then we came to an agreement that let's cease fire for 5 years or for 10 years, no more fighting, then no Muslim must go and attack those non-Muslims that we have that agreement with. So these are the three Muslims, the three non-Muslims. And then finally, al-muharab, the non-Muslim who has come with weapons to attack us, we defend ourselves. So these are the four non-Muslim categories we have in our fiqh. Ahlul Dhimma, non-Muslim minorities, citizens living in the Islamic State, no Muslim should attack them. Number two, al-Musta'man, a non-Muslim visitor coming to visit our land, so long as we give him the permission to come in, then no Muslim must attack him. And al-Mu'ahad, a non-Muslim that we have an agreement, a pact, a ceasefire, no more fighting, no more wars, then no Muslim is going to attack them. But then the only non-Muslim that we are allowed to fight is the one who fights us. So don't say, because the Almighty Allah says in the Quran, Ya Nabi Ujahidul Kuffar wal Munafiqina waghluz alayhim. So every kafir you see, you're going to fight him. No. No. That is not what our deen teaches us. Our deen teaches us understanding. Our deen teaches us, peace to whoever has given us peace. But then if you fight us, we are obliged to defend ourselves. Even if our religion doesn't teach you that, common sense teaches you that when someone fights you, you defend yourself. So Christian-Muslim relations in our deen has a huge, place in our Sharia. Because don't forget, in Surah Al-Ma'idah, the Almighty Allah allows us to eat their food. The Almighty allows us to marry their women. You guys are confused. It's in Surah Al-Ma'idah, Quran chapter 5 verse 5. The Almighty Allah allows us, yes, to do that. But then the women are from the Ahlul Kitab, either Jewish or Christian women, and then they must be chaste women. Chaste women. It is allowed in the deen, but it is not compulsory. That's one. Number two, the times that we are now, it makes it very difficult marrying such women. I am not negating that the Sharia says we should marry them. It is allowed in the deen. But then it has its rules and regulations. The kids are yours. But now, do you think when you marry a non-Muslim woman, the kids will be yours? Allah, waka.
See, you are giving this too much, so...
Sorry, jazakumullah khairan. So we are allowed that. But then it comes with challenges. It comes with challenges. So if you want to marry a woman from Ahlul Kitab, you must be ready, you must be prepared. You must be prepared. Because it's not easy. Because when you marry a woman from Ahlul Kitab, you don't force her to become a Muslim. And she's allowed to practice her deen, her religion. So now, when you give birth, the children come, what happens? Will they be Muslims or will they be Christians? That's where the challenge comes in. The Almighty Allah says, "Qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara," that protect yourselves and your families from entering hellfire. Yes, the Almighty Allah knows that, and then He still told us that you can marry Christian women and Jewish women. But then, as a man, you know that the nurturing of the kids at the younger age is solely in the hands of the woman. And then at the end of the day, your kids might end up being Christians. That's a fact. That's a fact. So if you're going to go by that injunction in the Quran, you find one beautiful Christian lady who is chaste, and when we say, listen, when we say Christian ladies or Jewish ladies, we are not saying just any Christian lady you find on the streets. She is someone who is a strong adherent to what? To her deen. She understands her deen. Excuse me, with all due respect, not all these, flashy, fine-looking women with all these hair extensions and long nails walking on the street, and then you see her and then you're like, I want to marry this woman. No, bro. No. It's very clear in Surah Al-Ma'idah. But then, the society that we find ourselves in now, during the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and in the early Muslim age, the Muslims were the dominant forces in what? The dominant community in the society. So it's the Muslim culture that takes precedence. Let me tell you, you are now even married to Muslim women and your kids in the house are turning into something else. How much more you are going to get married to a non-Muslim woman? Excuse me. I only brought this up to let you know that yes, it's part of Muslim-Christian relations or part of Muslim, Ahlul Kitab relations that yes, we are allowed to marry their women or eat their food. And the verse when the Almighty Allah said, وَطَعَامُهُمْ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ, that their food is permissible for you, majority of the Mufassirin go to the fact that it is whatever they slaughter. ذَبَائِحَهُمْ. You're surprised. It's not only the rice that they cook or the burgers that they cook. ذَبَائِحَهُمْ. That's what some of the Mufassirin have gone to, that even when they slaughter, you can eat. The slaughtering. Someone will say, hey, what if they don't mention the name of the Almighty Allah on it and stuff like that? They said the Almighty Allah said, وَطَعَامُهُمْ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ. Unless, they give a caveat, unless it becomes apparently clear that this animal was slaughtered for pagan issues, then this is clear. But then if you don't know, لَا تَسْأَلُوا أَنْ أَشْيَاءَ إِن تُبْدَ لَكُمْ تَسُؤْكُمْ. Don't go asking. It's part of our Sharia. And then finally, when they give you gifts, you can accept the gift. So long as the gift itself, in its original sense, is not a haram thing. What if they give me gifts during their festivals? Can I take it? Yes. Imam Ali radiallahu anhu took a gift during the Eid of Nairuz. It was a Persian Zoroastrian festival, and then he was given a gift, and then he took it. So the scholars are saying from this athar from Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, when non-Muslims are having a festival and they give you a gift, you can accept the gift. So long as that gift in itself is not a haram thing, then it is allowed, it is permissible. But then ultimately, for our class today, I'm more concerned about our aqidah, our mannerisms, our ethics in relationship with non-Muslims, especially in this country that we found ourselves, where ideologies are flying left, right, and center. And some of the ideologies are mostly not religious. They are anti-religion. They are materialistic. They're trying to pull our religion from our hearts. They're trying to pull our iman from us. And then it is very, very important that we guard our iman. When we find ourselves in this storm of all these leftist and rightist ideologies going on, the alphabet community, the materialist community, all these feminism ideas, all these liberal ideas, all these, all these ideas going on and around there. And we find ourselves in the storm. Wallahi, ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. O you who believe, protect yourselves and your families from falling into the hellfire. And the part of the ways that you can do is you institute a halakha in the house for you and the kids. It's very, very important. Try and have at least one meal a day with the children together as a family. It does a lot to them. Number two, try and have a religious discussion in the house once a day. It will do a lot of good. Number three, we have a madrasa here. Try and bring the kids here. And please, I've realized that some parents feel that this madrasa is a dumping site for their kids on weekends when they want to sleep in the house. That's what I've realized. Because sometimes we call for PTA meeting and it's only 5% of the parents come. 3 or 4. And Brother Usman is here, Jazawullah khairan. All our meetings he comes. I always see him. You have 3 or 4 or 5 parents who come. We have about 200 kids and you have only 4 or 5 or 6 parents who are here. Today, one parent, we start madrasa at 9. A parent brought the child at 11:30. And then we said, what happened? She said she thought that the madrasa starts at 10. I said, fine, even if it starts at 10, they are here at 11:30. What happened to the 1.5 hour that you are late? She said she doesn't know. I said, okay, fine, now you know. So, okay, thank you. So when you bring your kids here, it's not that sometimes some parents park on the roadside, on the road, and the kids come in. Instead of them coming in the parking lots to come and park, and then the kids enter the madrasa safely. No. Sometimes the parents will park on the roadside. When they drive off, the kids also continue onto Cops Creek. I don't know where they're going. Sometimes in the morning, I'm coming from home to the madrasa, and then you see some of the girls, they pass here, they go to the laundry, or they go down there, back there to whatever. And you've brought your kids here, but you don't know what surah they are in, whether they have the Quran, whether they have their books, whether they have their book bags, whether they're learning, who are their teachers. We don't know all that. So please, we find ourselves in serious times, I tell you. The hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said it will get to a time whereby al-qabid ala dini, the person who holds his deen is like someone who holds a coal of fire. When you hold it, it is burning you. When you throw it away, you've thrown away a treasure. This is the time that we find ourselves in. It's true. Because you switch on the television and a whole different thing is going on. On the internet, a whole different thing is going on. So what do you do as a parent? If you leave your kids at the mercy of Snapchat and Twitter and Facebook, your kids turn into something else. So please, sometimes some of the kids, they are very good in the house. They come to madrasa, they turn into something else. So when they do something, then you say you're going to call their parents, and then they are scared because they know the parents are very strict on them. They're just outside and then they're messing up. So please, it's a partnership, as we always say, between the madrasa and then the parents. And Jazakumullahu khairan, I've taken much of your time. And inshallah, I know we'll have some questions because I've touched on some sensitive issues and some very controversial issues. And I want to hear your questions. And I always say your questions help me to improve a lot. Jazakumullahu khairan wa akhir da'wan alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum. Can you switch it off? There's end.